Our weather headlines here as we start to dig into the forecast. Hot and dry pattern this week. Weekend rain chances. We'll look at the long-range data here in just a second, and perhaps cooler as fall begins next week. We've got Christian Walker popping in the comments here. It's birthday week. Birthday on Thursday. Happy early birthday. We got 70 degrees in Carmel, Indiana, and sunshine. And this week is Wednesdays with Weddington. So we'll have Brad on this Wednesday. So your play ball forecast, 89 degrees this afternoon. I'll call it seasonably hot, for this time of the year. And we'll take a look at maybe some of those weather changes in our long-range outlook here in just a moment. Again, typically around 10:20, we'll look into that weather model data. Stupid weather jokes for today. These are probably on the stupider side. But here we go. I heard Humpty Dumpty had a great summer, but he had a horrible fall. That's kind of good timing since we're heading into fall. What do clouds do when they become rich? They make it rain. All right. If the orchestra plays in a thunderstorm, who's most likely to get struck by lightning? Of course, the conductor. Those are your weather jokes for this September the 15th. You're welcome. All right, moving on to today's weather history. 1945, hurricane entered South Florida with 170-mile-per-hour winds, doing a lot of damage there. 1988, long-track tornado struck South Africa. This is weather history around the world here. 1989, Princess, a Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance airplane, was nearly lost as it went into the eye of Hurricane Hugo in an apparent tornado-like vortex. Lost one of its engines. Thankfully, the crew found a weaker spot in the eye wall and escaped. So there you go. Christian, the weekend wasn't too bad. Had a tennis tournament up in Columbus, Indiana. My son did. Brought my daughter home from IU because she wasn't feeling good. But other than that, clean the garage finally, and clean the septic filter, which is not a fun job. How was your weekend? It was all right. It was an all right weekend, but the weather was nice and we got some rain, and so that's good. The countdown continues. Autumn begins in 7 days. Our average high is in the 60s in just over a month. And Halloween in 46 days. You know what happens right after Halloween? The time change. And we'll have like 5:30 p.m. sunsets. Average first flurries right after that in about 61 days, right around mid-late November typically is when we get our first flurries. The allergy report remains high here with ragweed, the main pollinator, the main thing to blame out there. And the forecast summary today, 89 degrees for that high temperature. And good to hear, Christian, that you had a great weekend. Sunny and hot. Humidity stays fairly low. East wind at around 5 to 10. Our sunset at 7:50. Tonight's low 65 degrees. So clear and mild, calm conditions. Sunset at 7:25. Tomorrow's forecast for your Tuesday, September the 16th. A lot like today. Sunshine, upper 80s. Normal high is 82. So we're running about 5 to 10 degrees above normal this week. And here is that 7-day forecast. You're probably noticing the darker mornings because of the later sunrises at 7:25 and the earlier sunsets now at 7:50. So upper 80s to around 90 degrees for the rest of the work week. I've got just a 20% chance of a shower Friday and then about a 30% chance of maybe some pop-up showers and thunderstorms as, again, this ridge of high pressure that's over us begins to weaken and break down a little bit. And those will be some much-needed rain chances back on the way for this weekend. So there we go. Now let me go ahead and take that out, bring this back up. And again, talking about the peak of hurricane season, some activity here. There is a tropical wave over the central tropical Atlantic, producing a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms. The disturbance will begin to move into a more favorable environment for development over the next couple of days. A tropical depression is likely to form middle to latter part of this week as the system moves west-northwest. Thankfully, we haven't had any major impacts from the tropics so far this year. And, of course, we would like to keep it that way as well. All right. So we'll actually look at the GFS and see what that does with that tropical wave. And here's a look at the live radar and satellites and the loop of it here. You can go and bring this up full screen. Very quiet conditions over our region. Closest rain chances down in Mississippi or up to the northwest. A low pressure system over the northern plains and the northern Midwest. And then there's a coastal low there over North Carolina. To expand out our view even more, there's a tropical system off of Baja California. They've been busy out there. And then here's this tropical low out here in the Atlantic that is Invest in 92L. So we'll see what happens with that. The spaghetti plots, the weather models are kind of all over the place with that right now. So there is the current situation across the region. And we'll go ahead and bring up the weather models. Here as it's 10:15, a little early, a few minutes early as we dig into the weather model data. All right, let's bring up first just the future radar, which should show maybe a little pop-up shower western Kentucky today, but this is the NAM 3-kilometer weather model. I'll take this into the afternoon. All right, so this is 2 p.m. today, 3 p.m. Yeah, there's really not much popping up. So this is 5 o'clock today. It shows the activity here in western Kentucky and like a little blip or two south of Louisville. But again, most areas, I don't think we'll see clouds really growing big enough for a shower over most of our viewing area here. Happy to answer that question there for you, Christian. Thanks for, again, tuning in here. Let's get into, so that's that. That's today. That's the only high-resolution weather model really we need to take a look at. The HRR weather model, the HRRR for today, for your September 15th, is also mainly dry across the area, so there's not much to show with the high-res stuff here for the rest of the work week. So we need to actually go ahead and go into the GFS high-res model. And first, I want to take a look at the precipitable water because this will, whoa, kind of a hyper zoom there. I was just going to see what it does with this tropical wave out in the Atlantic. I'm going to go ahead a couple days here to the, I don't know, let's go to the 17th. So there's that tropical wave. Remember, the National Hurricane Center says this is supposed to become a tropical depression over the next couple of days. So that's the wave that we're watching here with the GFS weather model. We'll go ahead a couple more days to the 20th. The 20th is Saturday. Let's go 19th first. See if it's growing into something. So it looks like it's there, still out in the middle of the Atlantic. Maybe it's a slow mover. All right, let's go to the 21st, which is Sunday, our last day of summer. And I'm just checking out the tropics here. There it is, growing in strength. Perhaps we've got a tropical system there. So that is Sunday. Let's go a couple more days ahead to the 23rd. So that will be Tuesday next week. And it's got it out there. So maybe once again, we will not be impacted, the United States, by that potential development in the tropics. All right, let me go ahead and go back here. And so next week, I'm going to bring up the dew points. So this is next week. If you remember last week, we were talking about right around when fall begins, 22nd, maybe we'll have that Canadian air dropping down, crashing into our area once again, give us some cooler temperatures. Well, it's kind of slowed it down. The GFS has by a couple days. So this has, like, right now the latest has that drier air moving in, middle of next week, 24th, maybe next Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. That would be the nice low dew points across the area, the very nice dry air, and the temperatures. It's teasing us with a cool down, the GFS is. The Euro seems to be a little bit slower with this weather pattern change. both to give us better rain chances, which we need across the area next week. But so this is the 24th of September. That would be next Wednesday. So we'll see if as fall begins, we get a little weather pattern change in here. Good morning to you all. You have to help me out with how to say your name. Mounted. True. Thanksgiving is approaching. Yes. Fall things are getting closer and closer, knocking on our door. We've got Vicki Berger from beautiful Salem, Indiana. We've passed by there quite often nowadays, visiting and bringing Hannah back home sometimes from IU. So there you go. There is a look at perhaps a cool down next week per the GFS weather model. Also, it's kind of fun to look at the precipitable water. This is, if you wring out the atmosphere, this is kind of how much water you could get out of it. And notice that almost all of the United States gets controlled by that cooler Canadian air. This would be the middle of next week. Again, we'll just put it in the back of our minds. We'll see if this actually happens. A lot can change in a week of weather model data. But this would be the potential for a Canadian front to move through. This has it like next Wednesday, Tuesday night, Wednesday. With that, will we get some rainfall? So that's a big question mark, as even though a lot of the area got rain Saturday night and Sunday morning, a lot of the area did not get rain at the same time. So let's go to Friday the 19th. It does look like most areas will be dry Friday, with the rain chance mainly out to our west. So this is looking at around 5 p.m. So areas west of I-65 on Friday, maybe a little bit better chance of the shower. The models have been pretty consistent with this chance of rain west of 65 on Friday. So that's starting to see a little better chance of rain there. As we go into our Saturday, the 20th, our last Saturday of summertime, it's got a small chance of a pop-up shower. Going to take this into Sunday, our last day of summertime on the 21st. And it also shows a chance for a few pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Doesn't look like we'll have any big system overhead, but with the heat of the day, we might get a few of those pop-ups. And just maybe a tad more humid as we bring up the dew point temperatures. Again, to measure the water content in the air, showing dew points upper 50s, low 60s. It's not terrible whatsoever. It'd still be fairly comfortable, but it shows that we have a little more moisture to work with for maybe the potential for a shower there. Okay, bringing back up the reflectivity. This is reflectivity means just looking at future rain. And so that is Sunday. Going into Monday, the 22nd, as fall begins at 2:19 p.m. Christian, I would have to Google that. But we'll look at that count. Halloween is what? I can bring up that countdown. Halloween is 46 days. Not too far away. Okay, so this is Monday. We're going to go into the first full day of fall, we'll call it, the 23rd. And there you go. We've got a decent rain chance. The Euro also showed a pretty good rain chance as well. So next week, perhaps a decent weather pattern change. That there is on Tuesday, 9/23, September the 23rd. Front moving through the area. There you can see the increasing chance of some showers and thunderstorms with that potential front. And then going into the 24th, that cool air moving in, and the front has moved through. So if we believe the longer range model of the GFS, perhaps it'll be next Tuesday, Wednesday when we start to see weather pattern change.